Hello, my name's Claire Jackson and I just want to talk to you today about mental health generally, but especially in young people. I work in a school currently, I'm lead mental health nurse there, and I also do some voluntary work with reps. The biggest cause of mental health issues in young people is anxiety, and anxiety is caused by stress. But before I go any further on that, I just want to talk to you about mental health generally and a very quick overview. So mental health is very fluid. It is not a fixed point at any time in our lives. So if you imagine a line and you have mentally healthy at one end and poor mental health at this end, we run up and down between the two. Very sadly, you can have some people who are very, very unwell for long periods of time, but more often than not, we run up and down that line, and the episodes of us suffering with anxiety, depression and other illnesses are often very transient. They come, but they do go again with hope, kindness, care and the right help. Anxiety, as I said, is caused by stress, and increasingly our stress levels seem to be rising with the world we live in. Life at the moment for people, especially our young people, is very, very different, and a lot of their coping mechanisms they would normally have been taken off them. I just want to look at a small exercise with you which involves something called a stress bucket, to explain why maybe our young people and the people you live with and love are not coping as well as they used to. Right, this is the diagram I wanted to show you, and if you felt you wanted to use them at home with the people you love, your family members, then you can download them quite easily or even draw one. I use this a lot in work and it's very cathartic and can really, really help. Now, this picture really is indicative of an internal mechanism we all have called a stress bucket, and it's what allows us to cope. Everybody's stress bucket is a different size depending on what they have coped with in life. So if you have a young person or an adult who has faced a lot of adversity in life, trauma, bereavement, divorce, bullying, their bucket is much, much smaller, and therefore it would overspill far quicker than someone with a larger bucket. Now, the bucket itself, as you can see, has got a little symbol there which is supposed to be a tap, and a tap is the coping mechanism which allows us to keep the bucket from overflowing. So for an example, for myself, if my bucket was that full this morning and then I come into work and I've got 6 or 7 emails that need an urgent reply to, children to call that I know are struggling, my bucket starts to get a bit fuller and a bit fuller. But what allows it to stop overflowing is before I come into work I will walk my dogs in the morning, and then when I get home I'll take my dogs out again, I'll put my music on while I'm cooking dinner, might even have a cheeky glass of wine, and then by the time I go to bed my bucket is back there, which means I sleep well and my anxiety levels are normal. Now if you think about a young person at the moment who may enjoy meeting their friends in the park, going to have a pizza for a treat on the weekend, going to Costa for a coffee, going to Ruts for rugby for their sessions with Paul Cecil, JMO, all those things mean so much to them. Meeting their friends, being with their tribe, their sense of self, their sense of identity, all comes through those connections, and a lot of that has been taken off them. So these taps are getting blocked. So if you've got a young person who's homeschooling at the moment, trying to learn online, behind with homework, worrying about exams, progress tests, that bucket is filling up and filling up. So for normally if it was there, but they knew they were going to Ruts on Wednesday for a training session, they're connecting with friends, being themselves, just having a laugh, the bucket comes down. All that's been taken off them, all those meetings, the weather's awful, they can't get outside. Those buckets are getting fuller and fuller and fuller. When a bucket reaches the top and there's no room for anything else to go in, we then get this overspill where the anxiety levels become so high they can no longer function as they were and they start to become unwell. Anxiety is a very, very normal feeling. We all need anxiety in our lives. It keeps us safe and it helps us achieve and get things done. It's known as the fight or flight hormone. So we release cortisol and adrenaline to keep us safe and to get things done, and it allows us to achieve things. But very sadly, if those hormones run amok and they're at a high level constantly, then it has the opposite effect. We become unproductive, unmotivated, anxious all the time, concerned for our safety and our welfare, and it spirals out of control, and we become very unproductive in life, both at home and within our schooling. Now, anxiety is caused by things that we feel are out of control in our life. So our brains are not hardwired for negativity. If you could chop a brain in half, please don't, but if you could, there is no hardwiring for negativity. We are not born with negativity, it's not there. And very sadly, we create the anxiety and negativity that enters into our lives. And we are also in charge of getting rid of that negativity and anxiety. Nobody can do it for us. Once you get to a state of anxiety, then it's very difficult to then be productive. You're worrying about tomorrow and next week, even those things haven't yet come, and the things you're worrying about may not happen. But all these stress and anxiety levels are rising because all those coping mechanisms that keep our young people mentally healthy have been lost to them. Often young people are very, very unaware that they are feeling anxious or feeling stressed. They just know they feel horrible and they don't actually know why. Now, the majority of young people, and adults with anxiety, will experience physical symptoms. So they're psychosomatic symptoms caused by high stress levels, but they are very genuine and very real. They're not imagined. The majority of these symptoms tend to take the forms of headaches, poor sleep patterns, stomach aches, nausea, and then obviously we are very aware of people who have high anxiety levels that can experience panic attacks, and they can almost present as an asthma attack where these people are short of breath, they feel tachycardic, and they have an impending sense of doom. They feel very afraid and very unsafe, and it is a very, very genuine need for help they are experienced because of these high anxiety levels. Because young people are unaware these symptoms are being caused by anxiety, they just know they feel awful. It often makes them reluctant to talk because they actually don't know how to articulate it and what to say. So if you are noticing the people in your household are not themselves for whatever reason, if their appetite's reduced, they're not as engaging as they were, please just make those connections with them. Turn around and say to them, "You don't seem yourself today, are you okay?" And even if you only get grunts in reply, which is often, conducive of teenage behaviour, keep asking, keep chipping away, because they will realise that you're saying it because you care about them, because they matter, and they will become aware that you have realised they're not right, and that will just confirm how much you love them and care about them. And if they choose not to talk to you, then they will turn around and talk to someone, whether that's an older sibling, a friend, or someone at rest. But it's very important to make them realise that you are aware they are not themselves. A lot of young people who I work with in school will say to me, "Nobody understands me, miss," but they often don't understand themselves. But don't let that make you afraid to keep asking those questions. As you know, I've talked about anxiety quite a lot, but it's important. But what we have to realise is, as I've said, anxiety is created by ourselves and things we feel are out of our control. But you also have to remember the adolescent brain is very different to an adult's brain. It is not a junior version of an adult brain. It is not yet as developed as an adult brain. There is a large area in the brain that is the rational portion that we have, where we base decisions based on rational arguments and things before us. Adolescents don't look at things like that. They are still very irrational. They act on impulse, which is why you often see these risky behaviours and adolescents doing things their peers pressure them into. Their brain wants them to do that, is gearing them to do that, to get them to break away from their families, to become independent and become adults themselves. So just be aware that they do not make decisions the same way we make decisions. So if you find your young person is not themselves and you are concerned and they're acting out, not being kind, not behaving as you'd like them to, often that is a sign of struggling mental health. So I'm not condoning poor behaviour, but please be patient with them and look beyond the behaviour, because often if someone is misbehaving, they are actually care seeking, they are feeling horrible. It's not attention seeking. They need your love, support and help. So please look beyond the behaviour when you can. We've discussed coping mechanisms and things that keep us mentally well. And obviously as adults, we know what works for us. You know, there are some good coping mechanisms, there are some bad coping mechanisms. You know, we don't want those coping mechanisms to be alcohol, drugs, etc. But you know, some people do use that. But the biggest thing our young people are missing at the moment, you know, they have a sense of purpose and a structure of sorts because they are still attending online schooling. But the young people I am speaking to, either via Teams or Zoom or over the phone, the biggest thing they are missing is their friends. So if you think about your frame of reference and how you were at their age, which for some of us was much longer ago, you know, the most important thing to us then was our friends. You know, when I was 13, 14 and 15, yes, I went had meals with my family, but I just wanted to be with my friends. They were my world, they were my everything. You know, they allow us to adopt our identity, to be ourselves, to be with like-minded people. We all need our tribe, and our young people are really, really missing their tribes. So try and get them to make phone calls to their friends, not just to be on social media, to reach out to each other, to siblings. As I said, just keep those connections open. It is vital for good mental health. So please all try and look out for each other. You know, we're in such unprecedented times. We've never known times like this, and it's been a struggle for everyone, young people and parents included, with work, homeschooling. You know, the world is really upside down at the minute, but never be without hope. We all know things are going to change, but we just all need to keep engaged and keep looking out for each other. You know, sit down with your young people, watch this video with them, tell them that you've looked at the stress bucket. If you think your young person is struggling, draw a stress bucket, ask them to fill it in for you, and then it's quite cathartic. They can look at all the things that are causing them stress, what's in their control, what's out of their control. Once you accept that some things are out of your control, it actually brings you peace, because you know you can't change it. There are lots of little things we can all be doing together to get through this and to make things easier. You know, if your young person is upstairs, it's different when they're doing their schoolwork. They're in their bedrooms, maybe the door's shut, or they could maybe share in a bedroom. It could be difficult. But when they've finished school, even if they want to be upstairs, just get them to have their bedroom door open. Keep popping your head in, you know, do you want a cup of tea? Shout at, we're just about to watch a film. Just let them know you see them, you hear them, and they always matter to you. That's all they need to know. And do things as a family. I mean, often when they get to a certain age, they don't want to do things with their family. But at the moment, it's very difficult to meet friends. If they can meet up with just one friend to do a social distance walk once or twice a week in a green space, that is fantastic. If you can get outside with your new balls you've got from ruts and pass it around and have a throw around and just breathe in that fresh air, that's fantastic. The little things at the moment are the big things. Sit down as a family, have a card game, play Uno, teach them how to play rummy. Just engage, connect, do quizzes, all those little things that will make a difference to all of you. Self-care is vital at the minute, and even for you parents looking after children, you need to look after yourself in order to look after your children. Stay safe. Hopefully I'll speak to you all again soon. We've come up with quite a few mindfulness sessions and things we feel will help towards good mental health that will be on the Ruts Twitter if you'd like to take a look over the weekend. Bye everyone.